Hello and welcome to Quest Recapped. Today, we will be going through the 2022 animated adventure comedy film, The Sea Beast. The movie begins with a little girl named Maisie reading a book to her friends in an orphanage room late at night. The book recalls a time when sea beasts were fearsome creatures who devastated beaches and killed people. To deal with this, a new profession of monster hunters arose to eliminate the animals before they became a threat to the land. Just then, Maisie and her friends are interrupted by the caretaker, who urges everyone to sleep as it's way past their bedtime. However, after the caretaker departs, Maisie sneaks out the window and sets off on her journey. Elsewhere, we see one of the most well-known ships, the Inevitable, with Captain Crow in command. His adoptive son, Jacob, is the next in line to become captain and is one of the fiercest sailors the land has ever seen. The crew is on the hunt for the red bluster, who is one of the most dangerous sea creatures. That day, Jacob hears that a monster beast has been spotted a few kilometers ahead. Captain Crow then observes Red Bluster, who had ripped out one of his eyes before. Just then, another hunting ship gets attacked by another beast, and Jacob requests that Captain Crow help that ship. Crow rejects and decides to focus on his goal, which is the Red Bluster, but Jacob persuades him by reminding him of the hunter's ethics and rules. Captain Crow eventually changes his mind and decides to go for another ship's rescue. As they travel through the fog, the crew of another ship is attacked by the monster. When they get close enough, they use a flare to confuse the creature and attack it. Following this, Jacob and the hunting sailors hang from ropes and use cannons and arrows to attack the beast. After a while, the beast attacks the hunters with its tentacles from below. Jacob takes the chance to grab a spear to hurl at its wound. Jacob believes he has killed the beast, but he is suddenly attacked from behind and flown out into the water. The beast nearly murders him, but Captain Crow pulls out a large spear and sprints toward it, stabbing it into its chest to kill it. He also cuts the beast's horn to fulfill hunting tradition, but unexpectedly, the beast grabs his leg and drags him into the deep sea. Despite his injuries, we can see that Captain Crow has survived. Frustrated, he tells his crew to take the path back home since the majority of his ship has been destroyed. After a while, Jacob is called by Captain, who thanks him for all his help. He assures Jacob that they will repair the ship and return for the Red Bluster. And after the Red Bluster is captured, he will resign as captain, and the title will be passed on to Jacob. Crow then recalls when he found Jacob as a little boy shipwrecked at sea, knew then that Jacob was intended to be his successor. Sometime later, the Inevitable ship returns home, and they celebrate their victory over the former beast. Maisie is then seen in the crowd, following everyone in the celebration. Later, she approaches Jacob in a pub and says that she is a big fan of his work. She says that her parents were honorable hunters who died while fighting the sea beasts. Maisie wants to join Jacob's group, but he doesn't let her because she's too young. However, she continues to insist on speaking with the captain, so Jacob grabs her and places her into the wagon, requesting that she be returned to the orphanage. The next morning, Captain Crow and Jacob report to the land's king and queen, who commission their expeditions. They present the horn of the beast they defeated on their previous voyage. However, the queen claims that they have failed to achieve their main goal of defeating the Red Bluster. Therefore, the king displays the royal fleet's new enormous ship, named the Imperator. He discloses that the Navy will now be in charge of the quest and would no longer require the services of the hunters. When Captain Crow hears this, he becomes enraged and declares that the Imperator's weapons are ineffective and that the Navy general is incompetent. The atmosphere becomes tense, but Jacob calms everyone down by offering a contest between two ships, with the winner being whoever kills the Red Bluster. The king accepts the challenge, and they go off to search for the beast once more. The following morning, the Inevitable ship takes off, and it is revealed Maisie has hidden in the barrel without anyone noticing. The captain approaches her and she expresses her desire to become a hunter like the others. Hearing this, the captain admires her bravery and permits her to join the crew. Later, a crew member called Sarah hands Maisie a knife for protection and warns her about the dangers of breaking orders. Sometime later, the ship blasts a flare to attract the notice of the sea beast. Maisie is overjoyed with her new blade and eager to join the hunt for the creature, but the captain orders her to sleep. As the Red Bluster approaches, the deck starts to shake. The team prepares for war as the harpooners stand ready and the birds fly in. They fire at the beast, but it charges forward toward the ship. They then use spears to pierce its massive body, and once hooked, they can easily locate the best spot to catch it. While trapped with nowhere to escape, the beast uses its strength to drag a ship and create a hurricane. Captain Crow doesn't care that his crew is in danger, and he pulls out a large spear to finish the beast. However, Maisie realizes that everyone is at risk and cuts the lines to free the beast. After this, Jacob tries to stop her but realizes she is right and allows her to do the job. When the ropes break, the ship returns to its original position. However, Jacob and Maisie are hurled into the water where they come face to face with the red bluster, which sinks to the bottom of the ocean. The two manage to surface and hop into a small boat while the captain aggressively threatens Jacob with a gun to hand over Maisie to him. However, the red bluster arrives from beneath them and devours the boat in a single bite. In the next scene, we can see Jacob and Maisie are still alive and inside the red bluster. A while later, the two reach the creature's nostrils and can see the vastness of the ocean. They notice they are approaching an island, and Jacob tries to destroy the beast from within, but the red bluster sneezes two of them into the land. Jacob tries to kill the beast several times, but the beast appears to be calm and walks away into the jungle. Jacob and Maisie then take a short rest in the forest, and Maisie believes that these creatures do not intend to harm them and that the red bluster may have meant to save them from the captain. However, Jacob is not going to change his views and claims that these are very evil creatures. Meanwhile, back at the ship, Sarah advises Captain Crow to return to port because the beast has vanished and the ship will sink if they continue out there longer. However, because the captain believes Jacob is dead, he decides to seek vengeance on the red bluster once and for all. Therefore, he directs his crew to travel to Mokesh Island, where he intends to meet a witch. The following morning, Maisie meets a small beast with a cute look and names him Blue. She sees numerous eggs that are laying on the ground, and Jacob arrives to take her back to the camp. Soon after, the duo step on a number of eggs, hatching them as the newborn monsters follow them. Then her mother appears to fetch her babies back and does not harm them. However, moments after, a big crab attacks them out of nowhere. Jacob is almost about to be eaten by a crab when the red bluster appears to save them and the two beasts begins to fight. While the crab appears to be more powerful than the red beast, Jacob pulls out a spear and throws it to its arms, causing the crab to flee. Maisie understands that the red bluster is kind to them, so she approaches the beast for help in taking them to Pepper Island. The red bluster understands this and lifts the boat on its head, securely transporting them to the open sea. Jacob tries to explain where to go to Red, but the beast fails to understand him. So Maisie clings to the rope and pretends she's flying, guiding the beast with her movements. Meanwhile, Captain Crow arrives on Mokesh Island, which has a bad reputation among sailors. He meets a scary sorceress named Gwen there. She walks him to a shed where she reveals her latest creation, a massive spear machine loaded with lethal poison. However, she reveals to him that the cost of getting it is giving up everything Captain Crow owns. In the following scene, Jacob has difficulty catching fish with his spear, but the red bluster helps him by creating vortexes in the water, allowing the fish to swim in circles and jump into their hands. That evening, during a storm, they seek refuge in the beast's nostrils as it sinks to the bottom of the sea. There, Jacob notices the beast's skeletons and shipwreckage and realizes that the war has been causing disaster for ages. The following day, Maisie and Jacob arrive on an island, but Maisie refuses to return to the orphanage, preferring to stay with Jacob as a family. Moments later, Jacob and Maisie prepare to bid farewell to the red bluster, and Jacob swears that he will never kill another beast again. But then Red Bluster smells something weird, and it's the monarch's ship. When one of the hunters notices the red bluster, he begins to fire, and the war between them resumes. The red bluster attacks the fleet, and the Navy fires at the beast, causing Maisie to be thrown away by the explosion. Later, as the red bluster approaches the inevitable ship, the sailors load the witch's poisoned harpoon. Moments after, Captain Crow activates the mechanism and slams the rocket harpoon into the beast's side. The red bluster suffers significant damage and becomes stunned and motionless in front of the ship. Captain Crow then jumps on top of the beast and declares that he will take it alive to the kingdom and kill the beast there. Following this, the sailors encircle the beast with ropes and tie it to their ship. Just then, the crew notifies the captain that another boat is approaching, and Crow notices that Jacob and Maisie are still alive. Sometime later, Maisie awakens to find the captain lecturing Jacob, telling him that his behavior is unacceptable and that they won't declare a truce with a monster. Maisie, enraged, pulls her knife and tries to stab the captain, but is stopped by Jacob. Later, Maisie persuades Sarah to help her in releasing the red bluster, and while Sarah understands Maisie is right, she is loyal to the captain and cannot act against him. Afterward, Maisie anxiously tries to escape her room, and to her surprise, the blue beast appears and removes her windows. After that, she goes through her books about beasts and discovers that they all bear the same royal emblem, proving that the monarch had lied about the danger posed by the creatures. Maisie quickly gathers her possessions and begins cutting the ropes that are tied to the red bluster with her knife. Meanwhile, the entire kingdom has assembled to witness the capture of the magnificent beast, and the monarch pronounces Captain Crow and his crew the winners of the competition. Crow then walks across the beast's back, declaring that only hunters are capable of such a feat. However, when he is ready to plunge his spear into the red bluster, Jacob interrupts him and begs him not to kill it. Crow then calls Jacob a disgrace and grabs his sword, ready to fight. The two men then start fighting, and Crow eventually throws Jacob into the river. Red would have been finished, but Sarah appears by Maisie and helps her in cutting the ropes with one rapid stroke. Following this, the red bluster is released and the generals start to fire cannon at it. Moments after, Maisie notices the captain running for a spear held by some statues. The red bluster charges at him, preparing to take a fatal bite, but Maisie pauses in front of the beast and begs it to stop. After that, Jacob breaks Crow's spear in half and says that the days of beast hunting are now over. The monarch and the entire population are stunned by what they have just witnessed. Maisie then climbs on the beast's head and informs everyone that the monarchs made up the history of the war between humans and beasts, and that their realm was paid for with the blood of hunters like her parents. The king and queen are furious at Maisie's audacity and direct the general to fire the cannons again. However, the crowd begins to chant for the beast's release. Therefore, the general also decides to lay down his sword and lets the beast go. With this, the movie concludes with Red Bluster and the other creatures being allowed to live in peace, while Jacob, Maisie, and her blue pet form their own happy family. We have come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Kindly like, subscribe, and share this video. If you also have thoughts you intend to share, kindly leave them in the comment section. See you in the next video.